Hey guys, if this is your first time to my channel, hello and welcome. My name is Emily and today I am bringing you another Pay or Stay Away. So this week we have so many launches that were announced. I feel like Trendmood was probably working overtime on her poor Instagram account trying to keep up with all of these launches. Let's go ahead and jump right into the first one. So the first product that I am going to be touching on today is actually something I talked about last week, and it is the Nabla Soul Blooming palette. Now this one we saw the cover for, and the cover looked super beautiful, had a lot of pink and blue flowers on it, some green leaves as well. So a lot of people really kind of put two and two together and assumed that this palette would look something like the outside packaging, maybe some baby pinks, maybe some baby blues, maybe even some greens, just something really springy and fun for this year's springtime. Now what we got was a little bit disappointing in my opinion. Now I'm not completely disappointed because I still want this palette, but it's just not as bright and as fun as I was personally hoping. And I think the main concern with this palette is that it really truly looks like the Dreamy palette, which is kind of questionable because I feel like Nabla is a pretty interesting brand. They have a lot of duochrome shades in their single shadow collection. They have a lot of blues, a lot of fun shades in their actual single shadow collection. When the Dreamy palette launched, I really did want that palette, but it was kind of expensive and there was just a few too many browns for me. I just don't want any browns in my palettes, let's be honest here. I just want all color, and I'm probably not going to be buying that many palettes if there is a decent amount of browns, just my personal preference. But when we saw the inside of the Soul Blooming palette just a couple days ago, it kind of just seems like these are all the same shades, just different hues of the actual shades that they were in the Dreamy palette. It seems like it's just a different tone, but it's the same basic shade group. A lot of the same types of shades going on here. There's still a lot of browns, there's still a couple deeper purpley blue shades, and then there's those two pops of the kind of corally pinky red shades. It looks very reminiscent of the Dreamy palette, so I'm just a little confused on why they wouldn't make it more different and make it stand out a lot more. I definitely still want it, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna necessarily purchase it because there's just a lot of shades in there that I know I'm not really going to use, and I really just want to buy things if I know I'm going to be using the whole entire palette, or at least 80% of the palette. I have so many palettes that just sit around in my collection being untouched because there's a lot of browns in them and I do not use browns, or there's a lot of shades in them that I do not personally like, and if there's only one or two shades in a palette, typically I just depot those and put it in my Z palettes, so I don't really need a whole palette if it's not going to be usable for me. I definitely want to be able to get my use out of it. Now we did find out a launch date. It is going to be releasing May 3rd at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. I don't know the price yet, there hasn't been an actual price listed, but last time they launched a palette, which was the Dreamy palette, it was $35.90 euro, making it $44.20 USD, so about $45 for the palette, which I don't feel like is a bad price by any means, but then you factor in the expensive shipping because it's coming from Italy and kind of gets you questioning whether or not you truly need the palette. So I'm just holding off for right now. I'm not really sure if I'm going to be purchasing it. I definitely want it, and I think if it was $10 cheaper, I would absolutely buy it. But right now, I'm just not 100% sure that I'm going to be able to get use out of every shade in the palette. So I'm keeping my distance for a little bit. I'm going to see what people have to say about it and hear the word on the block on if the palette is actually really good or not. And I'm just going to keep my eyes open. So I have another palette on the Pay or Stay Away list. We actually have a decent amount of palettes on this list today. And that is the Smashbox Covershot Pinks and Palms palette. This released yesterday, I believe, and it is $29. This palette, to me, immediately screamed Juvia's Place Douce palette. I truly do not know how you say that name. It looks like douche to me, but I know that that is not what it is. So it definitely gave me those vibes, and I think that they're around the same price. If you have been eyeing the Juvia's Place Douce palette, but maybe are thinking that there's too many browns in the palette, because I think that there's 2 or 3 browns in that palette. And if you wanted something a little bit more colorful and a little bit more pinky, I definitely think that the Smashbox palette is for you. For me personally, I do not need anything like this right now, but I definitely appreciate them putting together an all colorful palette. There's basically no neutrals in this palette. It's just all different tones of pinks and then one pop of minty green. So I would love to see more palettes like this in different color schemes. I am all here for all colorful palettes. I definitely think we need more on the market, and that's just my personal makeup taste. So I like it. I just don't necessarily need it in my collection at this time. So next on the pay or stay away list is yet again another palette. This one dropped on Trendmood about an hour ago, so I am very fresh to the scene with this. We finally get to see what the inside of the Venus 3 palette is by Limecrime. You do not have to tell me twice. I know Limecrime has had their fair share of controversies and their fair share of just drama in the past, but they make a damn good eyeshadow. I absolutely adore their formula. I am wearing the Venus XL on my eyes today. It is one of my favorite palettes ever created out of everything I own. So I really do enjoy their formula. They have been teasing us with a shadowy photo of the outside of the new Venus 3 packaging, and they have been stringing us along for a while. So I was really excited when we finally got to see the inside of it. Everything looks very purple and violet and very colorful, which, I mean, I expect that from Limecrime. They do pretty well in the color department, but I really like this palette. I think that it's really, really stunning. I definitely think that it's something we have seen before, but I think that this palette will be done right. Limecrime's formula is really blendable, really pigmented, really neon in pigment. You don't really have to work hard to actually build the pigment up and have it be the actual bright color that it looks like in the pan. And I really appreciate that because I struggle hard to getting pigmented, colorful eyeshadows to show up on my eyelids. So Limecrime really does their formula well. I really do like the shade Beam. It looks to be a light metallic lilac color. I also really enjoyed the shade Paradise, which seems to be the more indigo-y, deep purple shade. And then of course I like the shade Bliss, which seems to be a more peachy coral shade. They just had to throw their peachy coral in there, but I definitely think it works with the whole color scheme, and I think it works and is cohesive with the rest of the palette. I didn't even tell you guys when this was launching because I was so excited to talk about the shades and the fact that we finally saw it. This is going to be launching on April 24th. Now we don't have a price yet, but I believe these are usually $38 for the 8-pan Venus palettes. I might be wrong about that, but I believe they're not too expensive. Now for me personally, this one definitely gives me the Nabla Soul Blooming vibes. It has some of the pinky shades, even the coral shade, and then some more purpley blue tones. So for me, I think I'm going to be either choosing between the Nabla palette and the Venus palette. And I think I'm going to be more inclined to go towards the Venus 3 palette just because I love their formula. And I love these shades, and I don't have a whole lot of purples in my collection. And this is just calling out to me. So I'm probably going to end up picking up the Venus 3. But I don't know yet. Next item on the pay or stay away list is yet again another update on the Melt Hopeless Romantics collection. Now, I believe that this is the third week that I have talked about this particular item in my pay or stay away series. I am dying to have the baby girl stack. Just release it already, please. I am literally growing more impatient every single day, which I know sounds ridiculous, but I am obsessed with makeup. I love makeup. I get really excited when I see something that really draws me in and that I know I'm going to use almost every single day. I know that this palette is going to be used all the time by me, so I really want them to release it. They keep releasing more things for the collection. It looks like they have released some liquid lipsticks to go with the blush shades. Specifically, I like the lipstick in X, which is an orangey nectar hue. That's how they described it on the Instagram post. And I really want the Kelly Dream blush, and it looked like they paired this specific lipstick up with the Kelly Dream blush. So I'm probably going to be picking those two items up. They released a couple other blushes. They released the color Body, which is the hot pink, the color Honey Thief, which is the nude peach shade, and then they released the blush lights. Looks like 7 of them are going to be shimmery kind of blush toppers or transformers. And personally, I don't really care about any of that stuff. I just want the baby girl stack. I want the blush in Kelly Dream, and now I want the matching liquid lipstick. So Melt, this is a personal message to you. please, please, please release the baby girl stack, because I would love to have it, and my birthday is on Friday, so if you could release it maybe on Friday or even before then, I would be a very happy birthday girl. So next on the pay or stay away list is the brand new Bite Beauty Taurus Amuse Bouge lipstick. That's a lot to say at once, but it is going to be $26 and it is currently available now, although I know that these sell out crazy fast because it has to do with astrology, and a lot of people like astrology, myself included, so we see these types of things and we just want to pick them right up. This shade is described as a muted white chocolate rose shade. That shade description is very, very enticing. I like the idea of white chocolate and rose. That seems like a good combo to me. Seems like it would make a really good eyeshadow palette if it was done correctly. I mentioned in one of last month's pay or stay aways that I was going to be considering buying the Bite Beauty lipstick in Taurus once it rolled around to the month of April, because this is my birthday month and I am a Taurus. So I can really relate to this specific lipstick. Definitely want it for a collector's piece, but I just don't really need it right now. I'm not super drawn to the actual shade itself. It looks a little bit cool toned and I'm more of a warm tone kind of girl, but I definitely like the idea of the astrology themed lipsticks, and I was really thinking that I was going to buy it, but I'm just not personally into cool toned shades and it's pretty expensive for a lipstick. I don't really buy lip products very often, and when I do, I typically spend like $12 or maybe even $18, but I usually don't go past, I'd say, the $20 range, so it's kind of expensive. I might end up picking it up if I'm in stores and I can actually see the product itself. But knowing the Bite Beauty Astrology lipstick collection, those babies sell out in like a couple hours after they drop, so right now I'm not really sure if I'm going to be getting it. I might end up picking it up, but as of right now it looks like probably not. I do, however, think that they got these shades right for Tauruses. I believe that Taurus's colors are green and brown. Maybe it's green and pink. I claim to like astrology, but I can't even remember the colors. My bad. Tauruses are an earth sign, so I think that something that is a little bit more earthy and a little bit more brown toned and just kind of looks like the outdoors is very fitting for a Taurus. So I definitely have to give them kudos for that, because it seems like they did Tauruses pretty well. So next up on the list is the new Tarte and Aspyn Ovard collaboration. Now, I'm not really sure when this is going to be launching and I don't really have a price yet. It looks like they have just let us know that it's going to be available in summer of 2018. This is going to be an eye and cheek palette, and this is definitely for neutral lovers, which obviously I am not a neutral lover, but if you're into neutrals, this seems like a decent neutral palette. I like the idea of having kind of an all-in-one palette. I think that it would be nice for a lot of people who are on the go. I'm never really on the go, so I don't need stuff like that, but I could see a market for this, and I think that it suits Aspyn and her style. There's a couple shades in the palette that look pretty to me. There's a rose gold shade, and then some of the face shades, which I would assume are the more pinkier shades in the palette, look very pretty, but I don't need anything like that right now. I have rose golds, I have pink blushes. I'm not really in the market for that type of product, but I will say that the cake at their party, the cake that looks like the front of the palette, looked incredible. It almost looks better than the actual palette packaging itself. I don't know how they made a cake look that good, but kudos to them, or kudos to the cake bakery, whoever made that cake. That is a damn good looking cake. So I think that the palette design is really beautiful, and I think a lot of people will like this palette. I'm just personally not into it, but if it's your thing, I'm sure it'll be great. I doubt Aspyn would put her name on something that's going to be bad. So I have high hopes for the palette. I think that it'll probably do well, but it's just not really my cup of tea. So the last thing on the pay or stay away list today has not even really been released or even sneak peeked yet. We just got a bright pink picture of the words Mally x Rupaul on Trendwood's page. I believe it was yesterday, or maybe it was earlier this morning. I don't know. I'm losing track of time, but this was enough for me to be intrigued, and I think that this was enough for a lot of people to be intrigued. They didn't even try to jazz it up. They didn't even say sneak peek coming soon or in for a surprise or any of the typical tactics that these brands usually use to try and create hype. They just gave it to us all at once. Mally x Rupaul. No, I've never tried anything from Mally. I don't know anything about the brand. I know they're sold at Ulta. I think my friend's mom was really into one of their eyeshadow palettes for a while. I remember seeing it at her house a lot. but that's all I really know about it. But they are collaborating with Rupaul, which I'm sure that you guys know Rupaul, but if you do not, he is a very, very famous drag queen. He does the show RuPaul's Drag Race, which everyone in the beauty community seems to just absolutely adore. I used to watch that show way back in the day because I like Top Model, and I thought that he was absolutely stunning. Literally, RuPaul looks just like Tyra, and I was always like, they look exactly the same, and they're both beautiful. But I really liked that show back in the day, and I know it has a huge following, so I'm not really sure why brands have not done a collaboration with RuPaul before. He knows makeup. He's really, really good at makeup. He's been in the industry for a very long time, and I believe that he's going to give us a good collaboration. And knowing him and knowing just drag queen makeup in general, typically it's very colorful, very bright, and I am 2000% here for it. Give me all the drag queen makeup available. I want color, I want neon, I want brights, and I think that he might possibly give that to us. So I'm really excited for this. I think this was a really good call on Mally's part, collaborating with someone who is as interesting and as well known as RuPaul. So this is definitely going to be on my radar. I cannot wait to see what they actually come out with. Well, as you can see, we have a lot of launches, and I actually had to leave out quite a few that I was actually planning on talking about because, as you can tell, I talk a lot and I didn't want this video to be 200 years long. But that is going to be it for me today. If you have not already subscribed and you would like to be, I would love to have you. I have all sorts of makeup goodness happening here on this channel, and I do pay or stay away every single Monday. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. I hope you're having an absolutely amazing day wherever you are, and thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time. Bye!